let's go to our problem of the day. Problem of the day is geometry oriented. An angle is acute and measures 2n plus 12 degrees. What is the range of values for n? Again, this angle is an acute angle. It measures 2n plus 12 degrees. We're going to have to figure out what n can be. And what is the range of those values for n? So let's take a look at this thing and work it from the standpoint. A lot of times we basically understand that acute angles are less than 90 degrees. We're also kind of understanding or assuming that people will realize that they have to be bigger than 0 degrees. And that doesn't mean 1 degree. That could be part of a degree or just a very, very small fraction of a degree. So we got to be very careful. We want to put two n's on this. So we're going to use this an algebra combined inequality format for today. So we're going to start off with saying our range of that angle is somewhere between 0 and 90. And by the way, those are a little less than moments there. But we're going to put in this angle degree measure, let's say 2n plus 12. All right. Now, again, this is a less than, this is a less than, so I'm saying somewhere between 0 and 90. That's what this really says. So when we're looking for this, we can make two nice inequalities out of this. We could do it as one combined inequality and work all three sides. In other words, left side, right side, and right up the middle in order to isolate n. I'm going to take it right up the middle, and then I'll also show you how we can do it side to side. So let's do what we've got here. I've got it pretty well set up. At this point, remember, I want to get n by itself. Now, it's an inequality, which basically means you got to watch some of the rules. In this case, it's pretty straightforward because everything is positive inside here. If I had a negative 2n, we would really be having to watch closely and check out where things are going. But we've got it with everything being positive in the middle, 2n plus 12, so it's going to be fine. Let's take a look at what's going to happen. We're going to subtract this 12 first because it's just as if, let's just forget we had that. If you saw that, everybody go, oh yeah, we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. Yeah, well, we're going to also subtract 12 from both sides, the 0, the 90, and from the middle, all right? So that's where we're starting. That's where we're going to pick it up here. We're going to subtract 12 from 90, but we've also got to subtract 12 from this 0 over here. We'll keep my little symbols there because that's not, yeah, we'll just run those through, all right? Let's see what in the world this is going to do for us. Well, it's going to give me a negative 12. I'm going to keep the less than there. I'm going to say goodbye to those 12s, and this gives me 2n. And over on this side, well, subtract 12 from 90. Should pick up, wow, about 78. So now we're getting closer to our desired results here. We're going to now take and get the n by itself right in the middle. We're going to divide by 2. Let's divide by 2 and divide by 2 there. Everybody gets a divide by 2 moment, all right? And, ooh, what happens? Well, we get negative 6 less than n less than, oh goodness, we can divide 78 by 2, everybody out there? Boom, 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 have half of it. Well, if it were 80, it'd be 40. It's 78. Let's drop it to 39. So half of 38, half of 78 is 39. Get my words confused. And at this point, let's talk about this thing from the standpoint of what an inequality would look like. Somewhere on this number line, we have negative 6. We have 39. We don't want to include those numbers. We don't want those numbers to hit. So we're going to put an open circle there, but we're going to shade everywhere where? Well, it says n's between them. All right, so we're going to pick all these values inside here. Now, cautioning here. If I wanted to include negative 6, that would give me a 0. Because if you put a negative 6 in there, my friends, basically we get 0. So we want to get real close to it. How close, you say? Well, negative 5 will work. Negative 5.5 would work. Negative 5.9 would work. Negative 5.9999 would work. Theoretically, we're never going to get there until we put a negative 6 in there. So that's why we've got this shading here. That's why we're saying this is the expression that we're looking at, all right? Now, on the other side of the coin, how about it? If we put a 39 in here, we get 90 on the money. We don't want 90. So we're going to keep that little gap open, all right? And it could be maybe close to 39, like 38, 38 and a half, 38 3/4, 38 9/10, 38.99994, all those kind of things. Get real close there, but just never quite touch it. So that's what the open circles are all about there. So that's your solution, that's your graph. Now I said something about what if we split it up into two inequalities? Well, you could look at it this way. You could look at it as 0 and 2n plus 12. And since it's a combined inequality and it's in the middle, we could also write that as and 2n plus 12 less than 90. So we could look at those. Boy, my ink is kind of blurring today. Plus that 12, all right? And again, same story. We're going to end up with, it looks like, well, let's see what happens. We subtract our 12, both sides here on this one. We're going to end up with a negative 12 here, and over here we're going to have less than 2n, because those are gone. And we're going to divide, and we're going to see, dividing by 2, we've got basically this situation here where n is on the right-hand side, which sometimes makes us a little nervous, but that just simply tells me that we are going to have negative 6 for our boundary right there. See how that's fitting together nicely? Now let's subtract the 12 off the other side like we did a minute ago. And that's going to leave us with that 2n less than, 78. Divide by 2, both sides. And this time we've got that n less than 39. Bring those together. Hey, Ernie, it's the same thing, isn't it? Why, it is, Ernie. It's the same thing. How about that? The same thing. Two ways to work the problem. A lot of times I like to show you that on Mathline, all right? Because some of your teachers will ask you to break it up in an and sometimes it has to be broken up into two inequalities there, all right? Sometimes it has to be broken up that way. This one works very nice because we have the variable only in the middle and not worrying about it on the outer ends. We are between 0 and 90. So there you go. Acute angle values don't quite get to 0 and you don't quite get to 90, but you've got a big range in between. All right.